Initiating Movieboys podcast. Still loading. Tempest and Ryan are on their way. Welcome. Please enjoy the show.
All right, we are back with another episode, a somber episode of Movie Boys.
A drunk episode?
Maybe also drunk at some point. We're going to be talking about Morbius today. This is entirely my fault, and I would like to, up front, apologize because I really thought that this movie and the memes were really funny, and that I think they're funny until you actually watch it. There might be some other people out there who disagree, but yeah, I mean, I guess we'll get into that a little bit more. But my name is Ryan, and I'm here with my co-host Tempest.
Hello.
I guess I'll just give a quick synopsis in case anyone doesn't know about this movie or what it's about. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
That is a blessed life to the people who don't know anything about this.
Yeah, it's like that meme that shows like society if the world never did this, and it's like a utopian like cool looking future. It's like that's like the world if no one knew about Morbius.
Yes.
But yeah, biochemist Michael Morbius tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease, but he inadvertently infects himself with a form of vampirism instead. It's pretty much all you get. There's not a lot. And one thing that I think shocked me, and we can kind of go into, because I know you had kind of a different experience with this movie than I did, because I just watched this actually for the first time today.
Yeah.
So this movie has been out for a while, and I know that you saw it in theaters.
The wounds are fresh for you, and mine have scabbed over.
See, that's going to give us two very different, interesting perspectives on this, at least.
Do you want to know why I took the time to bother go seeing this in theaters?
Well, why? No, I'm curious.
Okay, so have you seen the Venom movies?
I have not seen either Venom movie. I've seen parts.
Okay, so like a quick sum up for anyone who doesn't know this. Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man and all of Spider-Man's like rogue gallery villain characters. And they were making movies with Andrew Garfield and they weren't doing that well. And then it came to a point where Marvel was like, hey, can we have Spider-Man? And they're like, no. And then eventually they decided on like they were going to share Spider-Man, quote unquote. Like, I don't know the exact deal. If anyone really gives a shit about like who's producing the movies and who gets the merchant, like if you care about that, go look up that information on your own time. But anyway, they're like, Spider-Man has joint custody with Sony and Marvel right now.
That's a good way to describe it, actually.
Yeah,
you're getting it right.
So Sony, I think there's again, I don't know like everything about this. Again, if anyone truly cares about like all the legal bullshit, I think Sony has to keep making movies in like using the intellectual property, otherwise they have to give up the rights or something. I think it's something that has to do with that. Also, the fact that like the Spider-Man IP property is, you know, it's like Mickey Mouse. It's very iconic. Like people love Spider-Man. So they started making they started with the first Venom movie, and that actually did kind of well, and it's actually kind of good in a bad way. Because it's like a buddy cop movie, which is not at all what the actual Venom story is like, but it works for the film. And then the sequel actually isn't too bad either. It's a little iffy, and it's not even really, it's really not accurate to how the comic character is whatsoever. But they're like fun movies where it's like, oh, this is fun. So I thought Morbius was gonna be in the same vein, like that same kind of energy of like this is stupid but fun, and it was not. It was not whatsoever.
And I don't know what the production cycle for this was like, but it kept getting
delayed.
It kept getting delayed, and I feel like, I will say a lot of people have talked about this movie. There's been a lot of discussion about it, and I feel like I don't know. There's only so many new things you can bring to the table, but I do genuinely feel like those production delays. They were adding like I feel like they had to be adding like awkward, weird jokes and humor to this. I feel like the original cut of this was probably way edgier.
Probably.
Because like, okay, there was one specific scene that I put in my notes where he's like breaking a guy's hand, and like throughout the scene, you really only see his face for a really short period of the scene, and he's like making all these quippy jokes, and when he's making these jokes, it's like you just see the back of his hoodie for most of it. Like there's a little bit where you see it, you see him saying like certain things, but it's like it's like, so you see him saying certain parts of the joke, but it's clearly like kind of bad ADR, and like that whole scene was like, okay, so clearly they knew Venom was really successful, even though Venom came out a while ago. You'd think they would have just learned. But I think that in the edit, the producers were like, okay, Venom did well. We just need to make this more like Venom. You make this funnier, make this goofier. When I feel like the original version of this was probably, I think the director was very clearly trying to like ape Batman Begins. So people, like, I think you and other people had told me going into this, they were like, oh, there's some scenes that are really like Batman Begins. And I guess I just like, I thought maybe like, oh, heavily inspired by, but it's like, no, this is literally, this is criminal. Like, like this is actually like the score is it's literally the same two notes. It sounds identical to the Hans Zimmer score. It actually might be the Hans Zimmer score. Yeah. I think that it's actually like Warner Brothers should look into this. Like, seriously, it's that bad. And just the whole scene with him in the lab with the bats surrounding him, and the music swelling, and him just like his eyes closed and then opening his eyes, and then having the voiceover of him talking about like what it means to be to Morb, or what the fuck ever he's talking about. Like it's so insane how similar it is. After that, the similarities kind of stop. And the other scene that was very like reminiscent of Batman Begins is that scene on the ship where it's kind of like played like a horror movie, and he's like taking the guys with the guns out like covertly and like stealth. Like that was also very Batman Begins. And
it was
again,
like
that
at Arkham Asylum with the Scarecrow.
Yeah, that for sure. But that honestly, that bit bothered me less because it's like, this is just like a little stealth mini game here. Like this is like a little stealth side quest. Like I if I am going to say anything positive about this movie, and there's like very little positive that I have to say overall, I think that I wish it would have stayed like a sort of horror kind of Batman Begins ripoff, instead of just becoming like every dumb, like honestly a worse version of every dumb superhero movie where the two guys just fly around and fight through the city at the end, like Man of Steel or whatever. You know, it just became this like the same exact thing, but honestly somehow worse. That was the most surprising thing to me. And also the fact I'm gonna just be like I think we're both gonna be rambling. I'm sorry to anyone who wants like a coherent explanation of this. Like this movie genuinely made me way angrier than I thought I was going to, because I feel like I was not prepared for how fucking lame this movie would be. Like I really thought that it would be like, and I know a lot of people had warned me it's not like a good bad movie, but this is genuinely like the epitome of bad movies. There are worse movies than this, but there were points where I was like, is this a fucking Disney psyop to make me not hate the MCU movies as much? Because like this is actually like the humor in this is so bad. Yeah. And it actually was making me go like, you know what? There were some jokes in Thor: Love and Thunder that made me laugh. I know. I'm sorry. Like I'm not saying I like that movie, but like I don't know. There were a couple jokes in that were funny. This was just miserable. Like holy shit. Like I don't know.
Do you know what I think is interesting about this? This movie could have been better. Would it surprise you to have me tell you that this is actually very comic accurate? Like they really they didn't really stray from the source material, which I think is the problem, because let's just say it, Morbius fucking sucks as a superhero character. Like, I'm sorry, no one gives a shit about Morbius. Fuck off to the actual Morbius fans. They should have just taken the kernel of what this story was and then just made it better. I think I remember telling you that this should have just been like a remake of The Fly.
That genuinely, yeah, I remember you telling me that. That genuinely sounds way cooler. And I think you're right. Like, they did not take enough liberties with this character. It's just
like no one knows about this, like who Morbius is. It's basically just like the living vampire, and that's it. Like, you can do whatever the fuck you want. This character is not that popular, and the story isn't even originally that good. And I even watched this video where this person was talking about how the reason why this character came to be is because at the time Marvel was trying to tap into like the horror comics audience, but like because of the Hays codes and like Comics Authority, you couldn't have supernatural stuff. So that's why he's the living vampire. He's not actually dead. Like they couldn't have undead stuff. And apparently these comics weren't even that popular when they came out.
It's so weird. It's like, and it goes back to what you were saying about Sony just trying to keep the license for this and going like, oh shit, what the fuck? They're just like, I imagine there's some executive just like fumbling through all these comics, like we're running out of characters. There's a vampire guy. All right, vampires were popular like 20 years ago. Let's just whatever. But why? There's just so many things that don't make any sense. Like why cast Jared Leto as the lead in this? I don't get it. Matt Smith would have been a better Morbius. I maybe a hot take. I don't know. Like it seems like their roles should have been reversed. Like why not get Matt Smith to play the more quote unquote like heroic, like anti-hero type of character, and have Jared Leto play the creepy villain. Even from the very beginning, when you're supposed to buy him as this like kind-hearted doctor who has a disability, he's just strange. I don't know. He just he the best movies that Jared Leto is in and the best roles that he's in, for the most part, not every single one, are like Blade Runner 2049, where he plays like a fucking weirdo with a god complex. Like that works. That like I totally buy him in that role because he is kind of a weirdo cultist in real life, and it translates well. But this like is okay. This is a weird question. Is he British?
Jared Leto?
He's not British, right?
No.
So this whole movie, I thought that was the case. But
Ryan, they're Greek.
So that's okay. That's fair. That's fair. But Jared Leto, he like his whole performance is like a British person trying to do an American accent, and I can't that's the best way I can describe it. He kind of just talks like this. He just has this very like he's trying to put on a mask to be a real person, or to be like a, to have like a just sorry, not to be a real person, but to just come off as like a normal American guy. Like that's the vibe and it's weird. And that's what, even when he's trying to be normal, it's like this is strange. You're not pulling this off. I don't get why they picked him to do this, because clearly Matt Smith can pull that off. It's such a weird, it like makes me think that he has like dirt on somebody, or like there has to be some sort of conspiratorial reason why he got to be the lead in this. That's all I have to say. Did
you see any of the interviews about like for the press tour that he did for Morbius?
Not really, I don't think.
Okay, so everyone was like, kind of like, the interviewers were kind of like you've played like the Joker and you kind of fucked that up. So like, why are you here?
Oh.
And he's like, well, so many other people have done the Joker, so they have like a preconceived notion of like how he's supposed to be. I want to give my take on a character that's never been done before. And that's what he kept saying in like every single fucking interview. He's like, Morbius, Marvel legend, one of Spider-Man's greatest adversaries, and I get to be the first to play him.
And just, God, there are moments where he's like passable when he's playing like a psycho weirdo. Like he can pull that off. But I think for this character to be likable, he needs to be likable as his like alter ego, as his like when he's normal. He needs to come off as more sympathetic. Like, and he really just doesn't. Like, and there are some actors that, even if you don't give them like a really meaty role, they can still come off as like genuine and likable. Just because of who they are as a person, just because of like their facial expressions and the way that they look. Like, but he just does not pull that off just from the beginning. And again, it's such a bizarre casting decision, to the point where I feel like they owed him something. Like, and he's not really that. It's not like he's like he won an Oscar. Like a household. He did win an Oscar, but like he's not like a household name that people are like, yo, we have to go see the new Jared Leto movie. You know what I mean? It's not like,
yeah,
like you could have cast, I don't know. And I guess you could, honestly, it was probably a similar decision that like Tom Hardy as Venom was, because it's like, oh, Tom Hardy, he's like, I think he's an Academy Award winner, but and if he isn't, he's like a very like critically acclaimed actor, and he played like a famous Batman villain.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna get him for this Marvel role. Maybe it was a similar reasoning, but it's like, why get the guy who played at like the most hated iteration of the Joker? Like I don't know if there's anyone. Like the best that I've heard is people go, oh, I didn't think he was that bad as the Joker. Like that's the best that I ever hear, and that's even that, like, that makes me question you as a person if you think that.
I know we've talked about this before, how I didn't necessarily hate the idea of what they were going for with the Jared Leto Joker, like someone who's like kind of a trashy, like gangsta kind of guy. Like I didn't hate that. I just think it was not executed that well, and I don't think they like thought through enough of it. Especially because like that's okay. So one of the issues with the Joker in Suicide Squad is the same issue with this is Morbius is Spider-Man's villain, and when you can't put Spider-Man in here and there's no connection to Spider-Man, you lose a lot. Like what is the point of what's going on? Especially with like the Suicide Squad, the Joker is like Batman's like famous villain, and if Batman's barely in it, and he's not even like doing anything with Batman, it's like, okay, what's the point? You're like, it's like tennis. Like you need a partner to play fucking tennis with, and they took away their tennis partner.
And the villain that they have in this, played by Matt Smith, I really do think Matt Smith does the best that he can.
Oh yeah,
he has the best scene in the movie.
Yes,
I think like everyone can agree with that. Like, and if just look up Matt Smith dance scene Morbius, and honestly, that's all you need to watch basically for this entire movie, more or less. It is very funny, and there's so many. He really did try to inject some fun into this movie, even though it failed because the movie is just so fucking rough. But I really did think he did his best.
I feel like Matt Smith is playing two different characters, because Milo in the beginning seems kind of more like mild-mannered and like a little happy-go-lucky, and then he just turns into a psycho. And they don't ever say like the whatever the fuck they inject them with for like the vampirism stuff. They don't say it really doesn't change his personality. It's kind of more just like it's that person's personality, but then they have to like control like the craving, like the blood craving that they get from the serum or whatever. But I don't know. I wish they fleshed out like what exactly the fuck this disease is and what exactly the cure is supposed to do. Because all I got was like, what did they fucking say? Like it's an anti-clotting thing, like their blood is really thin or something, or like it clots too. I don't fucking know. I wish like obviously like vampires aren't fucking real and stuff, but if you inject like a little bit of realism into something, it can kind of make it a little easier to swallow. I have no idea what the fuck this disease was or what the fuck they were doing with bats or like like I don't know.
No idea. It was very silly, and I wouldn't even mind that as much if just the characters were a little bit interesting. And I think that you can do so much with a superhero story if like the dynamic between the main hero or quote again anti-hero whatever and the villain are like if they're like ideologically opposed to each other in an interesting way. And in this, it's like Matt Smith's character is just like, oh, well, I just want to kill people indiscriminately.
Yeah.
But earlier in the movie, Jared Leto kind of does that. So I don't understand. Aside from I don't know really why they're fighting each other. It's so lame. It's the worst kind of thing that superhero movies, like the worst kind of superhero movies do, which is like the first MCU Hulk movie where it's like, oh, at the end he just fights another Hulk, another guy with the same exact powers as him. Yeah. And honestly, the end of Black Panther, in my opinion, too, that obviously Black Panther's better than this. I'm not taking it down to this level, but like it's never that interesting when you have just two characters with the same exact powers like punching each other and just like in a CGI mess. Like that's not an exciting finale. And I just, man, again, this made me go like, holy shit. Like I again, Disney psyop. Like I feel like I can think back to like even Multiverse of Madness, like even some previous MCU movies that aren't perfect, but it's like, well, they are at least not like the just the dull, like boring nightmare that this is. You know what I mean?
Are you saying you didn't enjoy the Kamehameha bat wave at the end?
It was kind of cool, but it was also it was hard to tell what the fuck was going on during that entire scene. It was just like it was such a mess of effects. Like I don't know. That whole thing, it was so dark and it was just kind of hard to tell what was going on. That was kind of funny. And I wish more of the movie had just dumber shit like that, I think it would have been more enjoyable. Like there are some like there are some standout little funny things, but it really isn't worth like obviously like the 2 hours. It's okay, it's under 2 hours, but it feels longer. Like it's just it's not worth like the length that this movie is. And I think that I don't know. It's just all of the best heroes and villains have some sort of like Batman and the Joker or whatever have some sort of like ideological conflict that makes it interesting to see them go up against each other. And like these characters are just, oh yeah, they used to be in this hospital together when they were kids, and now one of them wants to kill more people. It's really unclear. I don't know. And maybe I did miss a line because this was fucking insufferable and boring, and someone can comment and let me know if I missed some offhand line that explains why they hate each other so much. But I kept thinking like this would honestly be more interesting if it were like this is like a weird comparison, but if it were like a King Kong type of story where it was just like the FBI and like the military or whatever after Morbius. Like that would be more interesting than him just going.
Yeah.
Maybe his friend dies because of them, and he has to decide like, am I going to go Morb mode against the military and the authorities, or am I gonna like hold back? Like that would be more interesting than like him just going up against like a bizarro version of himself. Like that's just so lame. And oh my god, the detectives in this, that was like that humor was like just God. Did anyone laugh in the theater when you saw it? Because it was just like
no one.
Crickets.
No one said a damn thing. But people this is so fucking sad. People at the end of the movie were excited when Michael Keaton showed up. They're like,
no, they were not.
Like someone, yes, someone.
I was mad. I was like, you set him free. Let him go.
Someone was like, oh god, oh yeah, it's the Vulture. And I'm like, oh god, really, really? Okay, yeah. You know those guys are just very fucking nerdy. It was those guys.
I don't know. I am friends with some of those people, and I don't get it. It's like so it's a character that you know. Like it was just sad to me. It was like, oh wait, I kind of I actually like his villain in that Spider-Man movie. I thought he was good.
Oh yeah, he was great.
And it was just like, oh god, now he's associated with this poor fucking guy. They were probably like, do you think they like black bagged him and like threw him into a van and they were like, you're recording the next your next MCU property number 364, and they just threw him on set and just forced him to read lines? Like I don't know. Hopefully they paid him well at least. I don't know.
Well, you could tell that in the trailers he has different scenes than the post credit, and the trailer made it seem like he was actually in this universe, like the MCU universe, but because of all the shit with like the multiverse or whatever, it's like, is it like a multiverse? Is it the same universe? Sony keeps doing this thing where it's like, oh, are we part of the MCU or are we not? I don't know. Maybe we're not. Like I wish that like if they're gonna like use these characters, like do their own thing. Like who the fuck cares about like keeping it comic accurate anymore? I do think that like Morbius, you could probably do whatever the fuck you want with that, but like Venom clearly is a Spider-Man villain. Like the symbiote initially bonds with Peter, and that's why like this like the Venom looks like the way he does, is because it's part of like Peter's suit. It's literally why it's like that. And then also Venom's entire like existence is like he hates Spider-Man because Spider-Man like rejects him as a symbiote, and that's why he gets in with Eddie Brock, because Eddie Brock like hates Peter Parker at the Daily Bugle, and that's why like they bond, because they both hate like the same person. That's such an intrinsic part of like what the character is that it, like I do think the Venom movies would have been better if like Spider-Man was there, but like they did what they could with what they were given.
I would be really curious to see if, since from have you seen Spider-Man No Way Home?
Yes.
I would be really curious, since people were so positive about Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and like even though the Amazing Spider-Man movies kind of just are what they are, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to like pull his Spider-Man back in somehow and tie it in with Venom. Some people have said that, and I think that, I don't know. I don't love the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but I think that he was honestly maybe my favorite part of No Way Home, along with Willem Dafoe. So it was kind of a pleasant surprise, and I think that would be kind of interesting if they decided to bring him back and kind of give him another shot, because he is a great actor.
Oh, he is. I think that's another thing is I don't understand. I wonder if like the contract or like the custody agreement meant that Sony couldn't use any version of Spider-Man, because honestly, like I really don't think people would give a shit if it's like a Spider-Man from a different universe. Like,
I think the same thing.
Like maybe they didn't want to do that because they're like, oh, we're gonna confuse the market or whatever. But like, I really don't. I really think people don't give a shit. I think people understand that it's like different versions of the same character. It's like when we have like 6 Robin Hood movies that come out in one year. Like I think people get that it's all like different versions of Robin Hood. It's not like an anthology series.
And they've already, in like No Way Home was like one of the biggest movies I think almost ever. It was fucking massive.
Yeah.
People understand that they're doing this multiverse thing now. I don't think anyone's gonna be that confused. No one's gonna care.
No, I think it would almost be interesting if you had a Peter Parker at a different age, like stage in his life and different circumstances, because Tom Holland's Peter Parker is a teenager, and Andrew Garfield at this point would be like a young adult, and then also Gwen died. You know what I mean? So he's got like different shit going on.
Yeah, I think you could do a lot with that. And again, I think that seeing Andrew Garfield sort of like battle with the grief of losing Gwen in like another movie, or like maybe it's a Venom movie, could be really great, because he is like an amazing actor, and he could pull that off really. I know he could pull that off really, really well. So I would personally would love to see that, even though I don't know. The first Amazing Spider-Man movie is okay. The second one, honestly, I was thinking during this movie, the villain, the Matt Smith's character, reminds me of
Dane DeHaan?
Electro.
Oh,
kind of.
Jamie Foxx's character?
Yeah, like he's just, his whole motivation is, I had a bad life and people were mean to me, so I hate everyone in the world, and that's it. And you know what I mean? And he's like, this little thing just like changes him, and his life gets flipped and turned upside down. I don't know why I decided to go with that, but it's just such a boring character motivation that feels like something. And you said this is comic accurate, and I mean, when was the original character created? It really does feel 70s? Like a very it feels like a character motivation of a character from like the 70s.
Yeah,
that you would need to update a little bit, because it's not. And we should feel, with modern villains, it is more interesting if we sort of understand, or if they have some kind of rationale other than I hate everyone because they were mean. Like there needs to be a little bit more than that, or we're not going to be able to like at least understand why they became what they were. You know what I mean? Like with Thanos, like his plan is stupid and ridiculous if you think about it for a little bit, but there's like an internal logic that he has that he explains, and you can understand where even if what he's saying is total bullshit, you can understand where it's coming from based on like how he grew up and what his backstory is, if that makes sense.
I don't know, maybe it's because I have like House of the Dragon on the brain right now. But I also think like another way this movie could have gone is if like these people are just like fucking murdering everyone. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was one of the things they really couldn't lean into, because I think it's like a requirement for PG-13 movies. You can't show blood, which is why he's drinking fucking synthetic blue blood. But this should have been like rated R, and these people should have been like fucking murdering the shit out of everyone, just being like pure evil. Like that would have been more interesting to me.
There were so many, like there were action scenes where he was just like cutting people the fuck up.
Yeah.
And you just couldn't see anything. It was so lame. It's like, just guys, be a little bit. Was Venom PG-13?
Yes. Which that was very controversial at the time, because a lot of people wanted Venom to be rated R, because literally in the fucking comics, he's ripping people's heads off and eating them. Like it's very dark and gory. Like a lot of the Venom storylines are very dark. It's not. I understand why it's PG-13. Like, this is just like they need to make money. Like, every decision they made in this was for the pursuit of like maximization of profit, but all those decisions made the story worse, because like my idea with like it being like just doing like a remake of The Fly, I think it would have been really cool if it's like really, really dark, tragic, like horror themed, like gothic, and then like he dies at the end. Like that would have been like a stronger movie to me, but they would have never done
Yeah.
that because they're like hoping they can do like a tie-in with like the MCU, and like they want to bring this character back, and they're setting up like after credit scenes of like, oh, he's still here, he's gonna team up with the Vulture, but like it's not really a good story at this point because everyone's trying to recreate the MCU. The MCU can't even do the MCU right now. Like I think I don't really think we're ever going to see anything again where it's like the Infinity Saga where like everything's like building and connecting and the characters are all making sense. I think that time has come and gone. At least that's how I feel about it.
No, I genuinely think that's a really, really good point. It's really difficult to do, and I think that I don't know. I feel like I'm not in love with the Joker movie, the standalone movie, but at least it was, for the most part, an original idea, and it took a character in a different direction, and it feels disconnected from the traditional like established DC universe, but it's kind of tells its own story. And your idea of turning this into the Fly kind of reminds me of that, and that's why I really like it. Like I think that would be way more interesting to get like a good director to do like Morbius but the Fly, kind of like Joker is like Taxi Driver with the Joker. You know what I mean? Like I really like that. I think that it sounds like infinitely more interesting, but like you said, it's like, and my thing is, I think that I understand they're trying to do all this shit to maximize profit, but it's like Joker did do really well. So I think if they marketed it well, you never know.
I think, okay, like, I feel like in general, Sony kind of makes shitty movies.
Yeah, it seems like they're really far and few in between. Like, oh my God. Yeah, just looking at this list, Ghostbusters Afterlife, just insufferable. I don't even recognize a lot of these movies, which is kind of surprising. I don't know. It seems like they're just on, oh my God, on the Uncharted movie, which I did not see, admittedly, but come on.
I actually saw that. I saw that earlier this year because my partner wanted to see it. It was okay.
Yeah, that's actually what I heard. I heard it was like not as bad as people thought it was going to be, and that it was fine.
It's in the category of like popcorn movie, like, you know, it's fine.
Maybe like a movie I'll watch on a plane or something.
Yeah, basically. Well, no, probably not, because there's kind of like, don't they not show movies on planes or like planes crash and stuff?
Oh, I don't know.
I've heard that. Like I've heard that like for like movies where like they if they like a plane crashes or like there's something that like goes on in a plane, they have to like edit that scene out. And there's like a kind of like a, I don't know, maybe it's kind of a tangent. Maybe you could watch it on a plane, but they'd have to like edit out a lot of the plane scenes.
That would be, honestly, okay. If I'm on a plane anytime soon, I want to test that and see if that's true. That's actually really interesting. I mean, that makes sense though. I feel like, So I'm thinking, okay, this is such a tangent.
I think it's a 9/11 thing. I think after 9/11 they started editing movies that appeared on planes that have anything to do with like a plane being hijacked or a plane like crashing and like anything like that. It might have been pre-9. I don't know. I just remember watching a director's commentary. I don't remember which movie it was, but he's like, yeah, we had to edit this out for the plane release, and I was like, what? So.
Oh yeah, that's so interesting. I don't know how I haven't heard of that. That's strange. Yeah, I was just thinking of The Dark Knight Rises and that whole like plane hijacking scene in the beginning too. Just thinking of like bigger movies with like crazy plane shit that happens. No, that's interesting. I'm actually gonna have to check that out. I think if you're listening, you can probably tell how interesting Morbius is by the fact that we keep getting sidetracked talking about like more
planes
things. Oh, planes. Oh, Spider-Man. I mean, okay, Morbius is like a Spider-Man character, kind of, but. Whatever.
Well, I mean, there's only fucking so much they can say. Like this movie sucks because of all the decisions they made. Like, it's not like these people can't act, and it's not like, honestly, like I feel like the CGI wasn't even that bad. I appreciate that it was a bit stylized. You know what I mean? So
I liked I actually have that in my notes too. I liked the kind of wavy sort of effect that they had when they were jumping from building to building or whatever. It was like sort of like a piece of them was like lagging behind a little bit, like little particles. I actually liked that look, but I wasn't into like all the slow-mo. I don't know. That felt like, okay, this isn't 2003, guys. Like we gotta move on from that like Matrix kind of stuff. It just isn't as cool anymore. It's just been parodied so much that like I feel like you just can't you just can't do it and not just think, oh, this is like the Matrix from like 20 years ago. You know what I mean?
I think it works just used sparingly or like once in a movie.
I agree, and yeah, and I wouldn't have minded, but they really did use it a lot. But man, I'm kind of surprised at how many people that I've talked to since this came out that actually said, and you not being one of them, but who said like, it's bad, but it's not that bad.
No.
And I'm actually going to go find it's like, have you seen Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? Like where they find the internet commenters and they like dox them and find where they live and like beat them up. Like that's gonna be me. That's gonna be me going to all these people's homes and just like fighting them over this, because like it really is just the worst kind for me, like the worst kind of bad movie where it's like we have had an interesting conversation about it. Like it is like it's an interesting movie for a lot of reasons, but it not for like the movie itself, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like a lot of the things surrounding it are way more interesting than the movie itself.
We've been having a meta commentary about like everything else but the actual movie. Like we're not like, the scene in the beginning where he like fixes the machine with a pen. Like we're not like all these little things. Like we're not even talking about like the actual substance of the movie. It's just kind of more like the bigger conversation, which is why, honestly, I know the Morbius meme is dead because like Jared Leto killed it, but
He really did.
That was one of my favorite fucking memes of all time, because it was people really playing into what the studio was hoping for. Like the studio was like, we wanted this to be like the next Batman movie, obviously, because we reshot scenes from Batman Begins. Ugh. And I thought the meme of everyone like making fun of this movie was almost like so smart in a way, because it's like what people, it's like what the studio wanted. It's what Jared Leto wanted when he was like, it's gonna be my serious take, first time on a character that's never been done before. It was like everyone was giving them what they wanted, but they weren't giving them the money associated with it, which I just thought was brilliant.
Yeah, and just the whole saga. If anyone doesn't know somehow,
oh my god! If you don't know, I want to know where the fuck you're living, and like, is your internet hooked up to like a piece of corn or something? Like,
yeah, they must seriously just be like Patrick Star, just like living in the ocean under a rock.
Yeah,
like, I don't know how anyone.
I don't. There's no way that anyone is listening to this right now who hasn't heard of this and seen the memes. But go on.
But it is like, it's just. I think it deserves to be said, like on a Morbius review. I just have to say that it's so funny that the studio brought it back to theaters after all the memes, and it just fucking bombed even harder. That's just the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And like it's just we have that forever. And I just loved all the people that were like, hey, you should do it again. We were busy that weekend. Like all the jokes after that too were just so good, and just the whole thing. I don't know. I maintain, like I said at the beginning of this review, that I think my life would have been better if I hadn't watched this. I think it's actually kind of less funny now that I've watched it. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah,
and that's sad.
I was curious how your reaction was gonna be at this, because I saw this before all the memes, and you saw this after all the memes, and I really got to enjoy the memes, but you also got to enjoy the memes, and you didn't have to watch the movie. So yeah.
And I think that's my ultimate recommendation. Like, just enjoy the memes, watch the scene where Matt Smith dances.
Yeah.
And you're good. And there's a couple other moments. Like, okay, there was one other thing that I think someone had mentioned to me, but I forgot, where one of the detectives is like shakes this cat's litter box and is like, here, kitty, kitty. And he's like calling the cat with the litter box. Do you remember that?
I must have blacked that out. I don't remember that at all.
But that actually had me laughing, because I'd seen a lot of the other meme scenes. But that actually had me laughing really hard. That was like the only thing that kind of killed me. And I actually rewound it and watched it again. But it's just like, I can't tell. Like, he is a goofy character. So like,
wait,
maybe it was a joke, but I couldn't tell. I was like, do they think that this is how you call a cat? Like, I was so confused. It was weird.
Okay, were they shaking the litter box thinking it was like, when cats get excited when you like open a bag of like treats or something? Oh my god.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was. And he was like, here, kitty, kitty. I'll have to find it and send it to you or something. But like,
why don't I remember this?
It was really weird. It's so quick. It's like almost like blink and you'll miss it. Which is even weirder, because it's almost like I couldn't tell if it was a joke because of that, because of the way it was edited. It was edited so quickly that it was like, were they making a joke because this guy's kind of like stupid? Or do they think that
No
this
one-
is how you call a cat? I don't know.
No
I
one
like
on
to
the
think
set
they
of
don't know how to
Morbius
call
owns a
That's
cat.
what I want to believe. Yeah, that's the most important takeaway from this. But it was, I mean, it gave me a laugh. So I'll that was another scene that kind of
Can we talk? Okay,
kind of surprised me.
can we talk for a
But
second about the
outside of
Matt
that-
Smith dancing scene? Do you know what the lyrics to that song
Of
are?
course. So I actually don't know. It sounds like it's saying have sex.
Okay, so
have
I think the
sex.
song is
that what
called
it's
"Off
saying?
the Meds," and so the lyrics, I don't know all of them, but one of them are "Poop my pants," and then it's "Have sex, have sex."
I just took a drink and I almost spit it. I almost spit it out all over my monitor. I had to stop for a second. Yeah, I'm fine. I don't know why that made me. I don't know why it made me laugh so hard, but why? Is
Oh,
that the
hang on.
song?
Okay, now I gotta look up
Okay,
and read the
all right.
lyrics. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's good content. We have to let the people know the meme lyrics. Yeah, I know that there was a. Do you have it? Yeah, I can keep talking until you have it.
Well, okay,
there was
so
like a meme. Oh yeah, you got it.
I think this. I don't know what language the song is originally in. I think it's okay. This. I don't. Hang on. Lyrics. English. Okay. Oh, okay. So apparently. I don't know what language the song is. People are saying it's not in English. I don't know the exact language, but apparently everyone thinks that the lyrics are have sex, I poop my pants, I poop my tent, I poop my pants, and then have sex. That's what everyone is hearing, but apparently it's just the dialect of I think the people are from South Africa, so this would be like an Afrikaans song, which probably is using like some English and then like English slang. Anyway, regardless, I don't know why exactly that they chose that song, because it really just sounds like he's saying poop my pants and he's dancing to it.
It's so weird. It's so bizarre. Like I really do. I will say, it honestly made me start thinking about like a better movie where Matt Smith is playing this like piece of shit like murderer vampire and is just going to clubs and killing people. Like he's like vampire Patrick Bateman. That's like all I was thinking about. And then I looked it up, and I guess Matt Smith was in this like Broadway production of American Psycho, and I started reading about that during the movie. And yeah, so I don't know if I missed any plot points. It may have been because I just constantly was getting sidetracked with things that sound more interesting than the actual movie itself.
There are so many things they could have done. Like I only thought about The Fly, but like vampire Patrick Bateman or like vampire Dexter, like killing people, or like, you know, anything. Fuck it. If they just redid Interview with a Vampire and, you know, like Louis and what's his name? Lestat, like they just redo that. Like sure, fuck it, go for it. There was even a girl in this movie that was dying of the same disease that they were. That could have been Claudia. Like, you know.
Yeah, and that's like Morbius's love interest too. Is like talk about like going like 20 years back to like she honestly was very much like what the old like damsel in distress characters were like 20 years ago. It actually kind of surprised me. I was like, damn, they really don't give her anything to do at all. She's just this like hot like doctor, and that's it. Like there's really nothing else. Like Jesus, I don't know. That was also just like surprisingly. I was just surprised at how it just really was very low effort. Like that was the most surprising. Like there were so many directions that you think it's going to go in, and it just doesn't. It's so bare bones and simple. It really just is. There's the one guy gets
Yes.
morbed and the other guy gets morbed, and then they fight. That's literally the entire movie, and that was the most surprising thing. It really doesn't get more complicated than that. There's like detectives that are looking for them or something, and it just that never leads to anything. The movie even just like I actually like my jaw dropped when the credits came up, because I was like, that's it. Oh, okay, I guess it's over. Like I really did not expect it to just be like after he kills Matt Smith, maybe kills him, I don't know, in the fight, and then flies into the sky like Neo, and then the credits come up, and then it's like that's it, and then you get like 16 mid-credit sequences, but still it's just like that's it. There's no resolution with anything else. I don't know, they just don't care. Oh, okay, all right,
Have we morbed our last morb?
You know what? He doesn't even say it's Morbid time. I'm sorry, the status spoiler ever. You know what's funny? I actually convinced somebody that I know that I've tried to convince so many people that he says it's Morbid time in the movie, even though I haven't even seen it. I've tried to convince people that he says it, and I actually convinced somebody, and he watched it, and he was like, he didn't say it's Morbid time. And I was just like, I gotcha. I don't know. That's all I got. I think we may have morbed our last morb.
Do you remember the clip I sent you where it's Venom, and then they edit it so they say it's Morbid time? That's what the movie should have been.
Yeah. You know what? If they do a sequel, I will absolutely not watch it.
I don't understand how they would.
Maybe.
You realize that this movie got also delayed because of the pandemic, and movie was also supposed to come out during like spooky season. Like it's supposed to come out like October or September or whatever, and it just never did, and then it got pushed out to March. So, I really do not foresee them. Like, I don't even foresee them using this character again. I don't know if Jared Leto is going to want to reprise his role. Apparently, Jared Leto is actually doing another Joker movie.
You got to be like, please, Jared, can you just go away? Like, I've heard just generally enough creepy things about him, and also I don't like him. So
you know what's weird? So he's like 5'10", which I'm 5'10", but he seems fucking short.
Really?
Am I wrong? Does he seem short to you?
He has Tom Cruise energy, that's for sure, but not in like the actor I like way. Who's a psycho? More in the actor I don't like. Who's also a psycho,
I know that, but like
I mean?
Specifically, he seems short. Which nothing to the short kings out there, but I don't know. There's just something about that. I just thought whenever I see him in a scene.
Yeah, he definitely does, and he also just has that. Like, is he a scientist?
No, he's just a pedophile.
They just
allegedly.
That's how. I don't know if I want to say it. That's how they stay young. That's the young blood, right? That's how the vampires stay young.
Okay, because Jared Leto actually is I think he's 50 now. He just turned 50.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah, same thing with Tom Cruise. Like, they're both so young. I mean, just having that much money, they can just have so much fucking work done and literally have every, like, I don't know, just have a trainer and all that stuff like available to them so easily. Like, I don't know. And they are probably
at this point, Tom Cruise definitely has had a facelift.
Absolutely. Like, if he hasn't, that would genuinely shock me. But again, I think Tom Cruise, I don't know why I'm getting into Tom Cruise now, but he's an actor that I actually enjoy watching, even though it's like,
he is
kind of crazy. But Jared Leto, again, why is he not just playing weird side characters and things?
He needs to go back to his Fight Club days where he just gets the shit beaten out of him.
That's the most ideal way to go about it.
He plays like Angel or whatever. He plays the guy with the bleach blonde hair in Fight Club with his face crushed in.
Yeah, I honestly had forgotten that he was even in Fight Club until recently. Same thing about American Psycho. Like, I feel like he's in all these older movies where he just gets fucking obliterated. And like, it's like, man, we need to go back. We need to return to tradition and go back to the days where Jared Leto just used to be a side character that got murdered.
Exactly.
Up, okay, that's all I'm saying. Do you have any final thoughts about Morbius? Any final morbs?
Don't watch this movie. Just like, I don't know, do cocaine or something else instead. Like anything else.
I'm gonna second that. Don't watch this. Do cocaine and become a Scientologist.
Oh, also,
or don't. I don't know.
Thank you we have 100 subscribers now, so thank you for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, this has been really fun so far, and
yeah,
I promise that we won't talk about Morbius again. I promise.
I thought you were going to say we won't talk about vampires again, because all we've been like doing is vampire movies, but
there have been a surprising amount of vampire movies, but we will come up with some good stuff. Some stuff that's better than Morbius, I promise, guys. Don't give up. Don't morb out on us.
They all unsubscribe.
Just we look and it's legitimately 0. It's like, fuck, like I'm subscribed. I didn't even unsubscribe. What the fuck? YouTube has Susan has removed our subscriptions. We just got morbed by Susan.